Here we are, Life in the Garden, episode 2, Waking the Ancestors. All right, so in this series, we're following the cold case of Adam and Eve, which I like to call them Mom and Dad. And our two unsolved questions for the Life in the Garden series are, when was the garden and what was the fall about? Last week, we dug up a few clues. So we started with the two modes of attention. We looked at how every animal, from worms to humans, employs two different modes of attention. The foundational mode is broad, open, and receives the whole picture. It receives the environment automatically, like your heartbeat is automatically happening. The other mode is narrow, focused, and handles the details. It works on what the open mode receives, and it does specific things. While the broad mode of attention is scanning the whole environment, watching for predators, the narrow mode can do something specific, like identify food or treat a wound. And then we looked at the myth of the master and his emissary, a story that Nietzsche wrote and psychiatrist Ian McGilchrist mapped onto how these two modes of attention function relationally in the brain. There's a greater intelligence, the wise master, whose domain prospers, and then a lesser intelligence, the capable emissary, who's brought on to help manage the details of the thriving domain. And the emissary oversteps his role, taking power and breaking the relationship, and inevitably costing the health of the domain he sought to take over. And then we saw a huge range of ancient myths from around the world that share this same shape of the master and the emissary story. Something whole became broken, something connected became separated, something was lost. Many of these stories are held by their traditions to be the founding stories for the current order or the current age. Some hold them to be the beginning of memory. The Garden of Eden is held to be the beginning of time itself. And so tonight we're going to start where we left off last week and take a deeper look at the Garden of Eden through the lens of the master-emissary myth, the two modes of attention, and a little bit of mindfulness. All right, so part one, the Garden of Eden. I do want to flag that I'm going to be leveraging a lot of AI imagery tonight, so there will be a little bit of wackiness. Overall, I think it's really powerful, and I think it does a lot for the imagination. The people generally look really modern. I don't think they look like ancient people would have looked like, but just want to put a grain of salt with everything that you're going to see. And all of the AI images will have a little sparkle in the corner, so you know that's where they came from. All right, picture the state being described. Two beings in a garden. God is present, not abstractly, not theologically, not as something you believe in. Present the way another person is present when they're standing next to you. Present the way the sky is present. There. God walks with them, he talks with them. There is no mediation, no scripture, no temple, no priest, no ritual, no prayer, because prayer implies distance, and there is no distance. Communion is the default state. And they are naked and not ashamed. Naked and not ashamed. That line is doing more work than it appears to. Naked and not ashamed doesn't just mean they don't have clothes on. It means there is no self-consciousness. No one is looking at themselves from the outside. No one is evaluating their own body, their own performance, their own worthiness. There's no inner critic because there's no inner observer. Experience is happening, but nobody is standing apart from it, watching it happen and narrating it. That's a very specific psychological state, and it maps precisely onto what McGilchrist describes as the broad, open attention of the master. The master attention doesn't self-monitor. It doesn't evaluate. It participates. It's in the experience rather than hovering above it with commentary. The world is alive, enchanted, full of presence. They are naked and unashamed. They're free. Now the tree of the knowledge of good and evil stands in the center of the garden. Not the tree of knowledge in general, not the tree of mathematics or agriculture or astronomy, the tree of good and evil, the tree of binary categories. The tree of dividing reality into two, the tree of this and that. This is important. What's being described is not the acquisition of information. It's the activation of a type of cognition, the type that splits the undivided field of experience into opposites. Good and evil, right and wrong, self and other, subject and object, sacred and profane, us and them. This is the emissary's core operation. Dividing up the whole is what the emissary is good for. It takes the flowing, alive, infinite, undivided reality that open attention apprehends and cleaves it, chops it off the top and freeze frames it, makes it finite, simplifies it into something it can work with. And in doing so, it creates a world that can be manipulated, controlled, and navigated. But a world that has lost its wholeness in the act of being divided. And God says, the day you eat of this, you will surely die. This is not a threat, it's a description. The day the dividing mind usurps the master, something dies. What dies is the seamless communion. What dies is the unself-conscious participation in the living whole. What dies is the state where God walks with you in the cool of the evening, and there's no gap between you and the divine. When you eat of the tree, you don't physically die. You die to the garden. You die to the undivided state. The emissary has usurped the master, and a new kind of existence begins, one with tremendous powers and tremendous suffering, both born in the same instant. Now the serpent says, you will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Listen to what the serpent is actually promising. Your eyes will be opened. You will see in a new way. You will be like God. You will have a kind of power, a God-like capacity. And you will know, not just experience, but know, categorize. You will be the master. The serpent is not lying, not exactly. Everything the serpent says comes true. Their eyes are opened. They do become like God in a certain sense. They gain the power of discrimination, judgment, the ability to stand apart from creation and evaluate it, a God's eye view on things. The serpent's deception isn't in what it promises, it's in what it omits. It doesn't mention what you lose. It doesn't tell you that the same knowledge that makes you like God is the knowledge that separates you from God, that you can't have the power of discrimination and the experience of union with God at the same time, that the eye that opens in one way closes in another. So they eat, and immediately three things happen. They know they are naked, self-consciousness, the observing eye that can look at itself from the outside. For the first time, there is a sense of me, and it is exposed, vulnerable, naked, wide open to being seen, evaluated, judged, and eliminated. This is the birth of the internal narrator, the one who will spend the rest of human history telling you who you are and whether you're good enough. They sew fig leaves. This is the first technology, the first tool, created not for survival, but for image management. They're not cold, they're not in danger, they're managing how they appear. They're constructing a presentation of self. This is such a profoundly modern impulse, and here we find it in the 3rd chapter of the Bible. And they hide from God. The voice that was seamlessly present, closer than breathing, the ground of their experience, is now something that they can hear approaching. They hear the sound of God walking in the garden, and they hide among the trees. Think about what has to have shifted for that to be possible. You can't hide from something you're immersed in. You can only hide from something you've separated from. Hiding implies a self that is here and a God that is there, a space between them that didn't exist before. And God's response is not anger, it's a question. The first question in the Bible. Where are you? God knows where they are. The question isn't for God's benefit. It's the question the entire rest of the Bible will be trying to answer. Where are you? Where did you go? What happened to the communion? Where are the beings I used to walk with? And Adam's answer is the first fully self-conscious statement in Scripture. I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. I heard, perception at a distance. God is now somewhere else. I was afraid, the birth of anxiety, of threat detection as a full-time operation, of the fight or flight system that springs into action and doesn't turn off. Because I was naked, self-evaluation, shame, the inner critic, and I hid, withdrawal, separation, the gap between creature and creator that will define the entire human story. In 4 clauses, the whole architecture of the separate self is described. Distance, fear, shame, hiding. That's not a story about a man, a woman, and a fruit. It's a diagnostic manual for the human condition. And then the exile, driven out of the garden, cherubim with a flaming sword guarding the way back. The story of the fall is a description, not a punishment. The cherubim with the flaming sword is the recognition that you cannot undo this by going back the way you came. All right, moving into part 2. So now we can finalize the foundation of the series. We've got our 2 modes of attention present in every animal from worms to humans. This is uncontroversial and well established in the neuroscience. The 2 modes shape how life moves through these creatures. We have a powerful myth from Nietzsche that psychiatrist Ian McGilchrist mapped onto how these 2 modes of attention function relationally in the brain. His framework says that a healthy partnership looks like the open master attention in leadership, with the focal emissary attention serving that leadership. And he argues that modern culture is already living inside the parable, that the emissary has taken over control, and the quiet decline we feel in our institutions, our relationships, and our sense of meaning is the natural result. And we have all of these ancient myths with the exact same shape as the master and his emissary. These stories were written over 4,000 years ago and likely share an oral tradition that might go back as far as 10,000 BCE. There's a lot of myths that we didn't cover last week, and overall they emerge from cultures around the world, many of which had no contact with each other. And some of these are the key stories from our own Christian tradition: the Garden of Eden, the Tower of Babel, and the fall of Lucifer, to name a few. And now we've just captured a precise experiential picture of what the emissary's takeover felt like in the body with Adam and Eve. Separation and exile from a previously seamless communion with God, anxiety, exposure, self-criticism, and shame, and the gain of a tremendous new power to stand apart from experience and divide the world up into pieces, the birth of self-consciousness as we know it. So now we're going to take a trip into deep history, starting tonight, and we'll wrap it up next week in week 3. We're going to travel far back enough to ensure we land in the time of the garden, when the master attention and the emissary attention were in a balanced relationship, and humans were immersed in a natural communion with God as described in Genesis 2. We'll trace the human experience through the birth of language, agriculture, civilization, and written symbols to see if we can pinpoint exactly when the fall and the birth of self-consciousness occurred in the historical record, which may give us some clues as to find another way to life in the garden. Okay, part 3, life in the garden. So we're going to start with chimpanzees. So chimps are actually not an earlier version of humans. Chimps are our cousins. We share a common ancestor that scientists think was about 6 million years ago. And from that junction point, we took different paths. But I thought they'd be a great starting point. Comparing ourselves to their experience can maybe tell us a lot about the long, deep history of where we come from, since we come from the same spot. So chimp bands are living their lives right now as we speak in the forests of Central Africa. We've spent a lot of time with them, and we know a lot about what they're like. And today, with the help of some AI, we're going to look through a chimp's eyes this morning in the Congo. So picture this. You are in a body high in a tree. It's not yet fully light. The air is cool and wet. Below you, the forest is still mostly dark, the leaves heavy from last night's rain. The first thing you notice, before your eyes are all the way open, before you know where you are, is sound. Somewhere off to the east, a long call rises through the canopy. Not one voice, two. One starting, another answering. Long, loud, rising in pitch, unmistakable. Your body knows those voices. That is the male who took the low ridge yesterday and the female who moved with him. They're announcing where they are. Every chimp in a 5-kilometer radius now knows. Closer, below you in the branches, a soft, continuous murmur. Not calls, just soft grunts, one after another, from bodies moving through the trees. Your uncle is grunting to himself as he shifts his weight on a branch. Your cousin, 3 trees over, is grunting as she reaches for a fruit. Nobody is speaking to anyone. Everyone is making sound. It's how the band knows where everybody is, all of the time. If a grunt stops, the band notices. If a grunt sounds wrong, the band turns. The murmur is the band, regulating together with sound. Your fingers are long and dark and curled around a branch. Your feet grip the branch below. Your mother is behind you. You feel her weight through the wood. She grooms the fur at the back of your neck. She grunts softly as she does it. You grunt back, a smaller, higher sound, one you've been making since before you could climb. She lets out a longer, soft grunt. It means she is here. It means you are hers. You don't think, I am waking up. There's no thought like that. There's just waking. Sensation gathering, the world coming forward, the mother's fingers, the wet leaf smell, the sound of the band starting to move. The old one is on the ground already. You feel him before you see him. As you come down the tree, you make a specific sound, a rapid, breathy series of grunts, higher than the murmur. Every chip in the band who is subordinate to the old one makes this sound when they come into his presence. You've made it since you were small. Your body makes it without deciding to. He grunts back, deeper, calmer, an acknowledgement. The hierarchy is not a rule that the band follows. It's a sound the band makes. He is picking up fruit that fell in the night. You come down the tree not because you decide to, but because the morning is happening and you are inside it, and coming down the tree is what happens next. Your mother follows. You reach the ground and smell the forest floor and the smell of the forest floor rises around you. Wet moss, rotting fruit, the piss of a male who came through here yesterday, a trace of some animal you do not know. Your nose catches all of this at once. You do not think there is piss here and rotting fruit here. The forest floor arrives in you as one whole thing, and your body reads it and knows where you are. You reach for a piece of fruit. As your hand closes on it, you make a low, rough sound. Not a call, not a greeting, something that comes up out of your chest when food is here. Others nearby hear it. Some of them come closer. Some of them make their own low sounds. The whole area around the fruit is quietly humming with these food grunts. Bodies close, hands moving. The old one glances at you. You feel the look in your shoulders. You wait. Then you take the fruit. Later in the morning, some of the males move off. You hear them go. The murmur shifting, quiet, urgent grunts. The sound of bodies moving in coordinated silence. Your body is a little more alert now. The females draw the young ones a little closer. The soft contact grunts around you continue. I'm here, I'm here. The band, still one body, across the whole area. Some hours later, they come back. There's a monkey, a colobus, small, dark, and dead. There are new sounds now. Panting, aggressive food grunts, the excitement of a fresh meal. The old one gets a piece first. The one who took part in the killing get pieces next. The closest allies. You wait. Your mother waits with you. Then someone drops you a piece, a hand, still warm, and you eat. Around you, the food grunts continue. Everyone is making them. Not a chorus, everyone in their own rhythm, their own pitch. The sound rises and falls with the eating. Your mother sits close beside you. Her warm side is against yours. Her breathing matches yours. And as she eats, she grunts softly. As you eat, you grunt back. Later in the day, the band comes to a waterfall. The water is falling from a great height into a pool below. The sound fills the whole clearing. A roar that is not any single voice, that has been here longer than anybody in the band, that will be here after all of you are gone. The mist rises. The rocks are dark and wet. The water throws itself off the edge and does not stop. And every sound your band was making stops. The soft murmur, the grunts, the contact calls, they all fall away in the presence of the waterfall's roar. You feel it happen. The whole band settling into silence together. Some of the males begin to move slowly, side to side, rocking. Bodies orient toward the falling water. Nobody knows what to do here. Nobody is doing anything. You just stand. Your body knows the water is enormous. Your body knows the sound. Your body knows the falling is the same falling that was falling when your mother was small and when her mother was small. Later, a different day, the band is moving. Something in the sound is different. The murmur is quieter, tighter. The old one is at the front. The males are close together, moving low, their contact grunts almost inaudible. The females and the young ones follow. There is a scent in the air, not one you know well, another band, not far. You come over a rise. There on the ground is a body, a male from the other band. You have never seen him before. He is dead. The blood on him is fresh. Some of your males stand over him. Then one of them screams, not the alarm scream you know from small threats, a different scream, high and long and full of teeth. Others take it up. Your body takes it up too. You are screaming with them, and your teeth are bared, and your body is inside the screaming. The whole band's voice as one voice, involuntary, shared, unstoppable. You do not know why. You know only that the screaming is right, that being on this side of it and not that side of it where your body needs to be right now. Later, you are back in the trees. The forest is quiet. The old one grooms one of the males. The soft contact grunts start again. The murmur resumes. Nobody in the band knows this was part of anything. Nobody knows that over 4 years of moon cycles you do not count, the males from your side will systematically extinguish the males from theirs. Nobody knows there is a pattern. There is only the shape of what is happening right now and the body's readiness to be inside it. This is not what we would expect to see after the fall. This is not what the emissary usurping the master looks like. This is what a living lineage costs. Life eats life. Bands defend territory. Males kill males. And beside it, in the same week, the mother carries the small body and will not let it go. Both, all the time. And every step of it, the killing and the grieving and the eating and the grooming, is happening in a body that is inside the aliveness of the world, that is not withdrawn from it, that has not built a self that stands apart from it. This is the master in leadership. The forest is home. And God saw everything that was made, and behold, it was very good. Not perfect, good. This is the engine of creation. All right, and our last section for tonight, the earliest humans before the emergence of language. Anatomically modern Homo sapiens emerged about 300,000 years ago in Africa. For most of that time, probably 200,000 years or more, we do not have spoken language, or we have proto-language of some kind, some form of communication that is not yet the full syntactic system we know now. The vast majority of human existence and history occurs in this movement, pre-language. Okay, you are in a body without words. You don't have the sentence, I'm hungry. You have the felt sense of hunger, a pull toward where food is, a warm alertness that the body already knows how to satisfy. You do not have the sentence, the fire is warm. You have warmth, arriving through the skin, gathered into the whole body, met by an ease that spreads outward. There's no running commentary. There's no inner voice narrating your day. But your world is not silent. The murmur is still here. The same continuous soft sound making that ran through the chimp band is elaborated in the humans. Your body wakes into it. Someone hums as she tends the fire. Someone else clicks her tongue as she nurses. Two children make small nonsense sounds to each other back and forth, holding each other's attention through voice. Your uncle grunts as he stands up. Your mother makes a low, soft sound as she moves past you. It is not talk. It is not silence. It is the band being together with breath and voice, minute by minute, hour by hour, in a shared vocal weave that says, we are here. In the morning, you wake up, but you don't wake up as I. There is no I to wake up as. You wake as awakeness, sensation, light, temperature, the body moving, the murmur of the band around you. You have done this morning your whole life. The pattern is established. The day begins through you. Your feet know the way to the water, not from memory, but from the body's own knowing, which has walked this path so many times that it walks itself. You crouch, you drink. The coolness travels through your throat and into your chest and lands as an easing that spreads throughout the whole body. You bring water back. You don't think about bringing water back. Bringing water back is how mornings continue. Someone hands you food without, someone notices you moving a little slower than usual and hands you food without being asked. The whole group shifts to accommodate you without a word being said. An infant cries, and the nearest body picks it up. Doesn't matter whose. A young one falls, and 3 adults are already there. Nobody is directing any of it. The care is what the group is doing continuously without deciding to. And now the mountain. You come out from the trees, and it is there. The mountain is not a geological feature that's standing there. The mountain is a presence you encounter. It produces feelings in your being. The sky is not weather. The sky is enormous. The sky has moods: gray mood, hot mood, wet mood, the mood before a storm, the mood when the whole valley is gold at the evening and everything slows, the mood when the horizon is dark and the birds go quiet. Your body has always known the sky is bigger than everything else it knows. Your body has always known the sky is watching, in the way sky watches, not with eyes, but with weight, with presence, with attention that presses down on the valley and shapes the day. The forest is not a resource. Every tree has stood there longer than you have been alive. When you walk under them, something in your body knows you are under them. The river gives water and takes bodies. Your grandmother's brother went into it in the flood the year before you were born. The band did not find him. The river continued to give water. Your body carries this without narrating it. Your body knows the river is not safe the way it knows that fire is not safe. Your body also knows the river is where mornings begin. You wear pierced shells around your neck, small shells that your mother threaded there when you were small. They tap gently against each other when you move. Your body has always had them. Other children in the band have similar shells, some more, some fewer. When your band was joined last season by a family from further west, you noticed their shells were different. Your body registered the difference in the same way it registers any felt fact of the group. By afternoon, the ones who went out come back with a rabbit. Not much, but enough. It goes on the fire. Everyone gets some. Something in you gives thanks. Not thanks as a thought, not thanks as a word, but a warm settling that arrives when the rabbit becomes part of your body. The rabbit was one of the forest's ways of being alive. Now it is one of your ways. The band settles into the eating. A low humming starts. Nobody started it. Nobody is leading it. Bodies are just humming softly as they eat. Some join, some don't. It rises and falls with the eating, the way the food grunts rose and fell in the chimp band. You sit close to your mother's sister. Her warm arm is against your side. You are not thinking about the meal. You are the meal, eating. The rabbit is warm in your fingers. Its blood is on your lips. Your breathing matches hers. The humming in the group rises a little, softens, continues. There are hard things as well. A young member of the band is very sick. The oldest woman among you knows plants, knows which leaves to boil, which roots to grind, which bark to make a poultice for a wound. She works with him, but this sickness is deep. Over 3 days, he gets worse. On the 4th day, he stops breathing. His mother makes a sound you have never heard her make before. The band gathers. Nobody speaks because there are no words yet, but the grief moves through the group. You feel it in your body. Here's what the band does now. You mix ochre, red ochre, ground from a specific stone the band gathers from a specific place. You mix it with fat and water into a paste. And the mother, with help from the other women, colors his body, not partially, fully. His whole body is reddened. The red is deep. When you look at him, his body is transformed by the coloring. Then his tools are gathered. The spear thrower he made when he was young, the stone blade he carried at his hip, a small bone flute you did not know that he had, his pierced shell necklace, everything he made and used and wore. You dig a place in the earth. You place him in it. His tools are placed beside him. His body is covered. This, the reddening, the grave goods, the placing, is what your kind of body has been doing with the dead for tens of thousands of years already. The band does not eat that night. The band sits together. The humming rises softly again as the fire burns down. Some months later, a different sort of hard thing. A band from over the ridge, not one you have contact with, moves through your territory. Your band knows they are there before you see them. The felt life of the group tightens. Some of your men move out toward them, bodies drawn up, teeth showing, spears held ready. They go to be seen. They go to show what your band is. They go to feel what the other band is. What happens when the two groups meet, none of the rest of your band sees. Only one of your men comes back. He is bleeding. His body carries what happened without needing words. Days later, there is a raid. Your band at dawn against the band over the ridge. You are not in it, but you feel it in your body. When your men come back, one of them does not come back with them. The group closes around the absence. Innocence is not painless. Okay, and we'll pause there for tonight and pick it up next week with episode 3, where we'll keep going through the birth of language and ride that train all the way until we find when the fall happened. All right. Well, happy to discuss any of that or run through any of that. Curious if that resonates or anything I don't know, springs up other resources, books, yada, yada, yada.
Tim, I'm curious, clearly you're telling a story, and you're telling a story from the chimp's experience and then from the human experience. And I'm curious, like, what the origin of the story is. And you're clearly, mapping out the different scenarios that even we can somehow, even in our present day, connect to, in a sense of individualism and community. But I'm just curious the source of the story itself and the outline that you have for each.
Yeah. So the whole picture for the series came together a few months ago, and I'm kind of furiously researching with the help of AI ever since. And one of the things you can do with AI is, I've got a classic New York siren outside my window right now. One of the things you can do with AI is do deep research, and it will go out into the internet and it will find all of these academic papers, academic sources, And so I am in the process of trying to like pull this big picture together, and I've got a lot of research. I feed that research back into the model, and I tell it the kind of story I want. So it's very much like a creative thing that I'm building, informed as by much fact as AI can leverage. And there's some aspect of which I don't know that everything we walk through tonight is factual, but I think the thrust and the sort of the vibes are right. And this series that I'm doing with Good Shepherd is the first time I'm like putting it into a format that's coherent, hopefully coherent and shareable. And my long-term vision for it is that it keeps evolving. I take more time to ask more questions. My understanding of these ancient groups is very cursory. I can tell the more I build the story, the more questions come up, the more I'd like to research. And so my hope is that over time I develop more expertise and like get in touch with different anthropologists, ethnographers. We'll see. That's sort of a far off way. So it's definitely like speculative, but I think it's leveraging the power of AI to pull together the vast treasures of human knowledge in a way that is really exciting to me.
I just want to say, having lived in Kenya for the last 12 years, a lot of the imagery and discussion of early man, which a lot of the and archaeologists and anthropologists and whatever, a lot of the findings are from there. And so I just kind of struck a chord, and having visited a lot of the sites where some of those shells and bones and tools have been dug up. It was just kind of interesting reflecting on that as you were telling the story.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about any of this a couple months ago. I've just been kind of following this curiosity around like, well, what happened? I mean, I grew up in a worldview where I truly believed Adam and Eve were my grandparents, great grandparents, and the world was 6,000 years old, and I don't believe that anymore. I have family and know people that hold that worldview, and ultimately, I don't think this series is actually incompatible with that. But once I've shifted to holding evolution to be true historically, at some point the question became, well, what was Adam and Eve? When did that happen? Where did that happen? So yeah, it's uncovering all sorts of curious questions like these shells and these rituals and where humans come from.
It's also I maybe this is not maybe this is a conversation we can have, but I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with John Walton, who is he wrote the book Lost Word of Genesis, where he kind of examines Genesis 1. And specifically, since we're talking about the early early mankind, what he kind of points out is the fact that the Bible is written in two parts. Usually, it's either historical or it's written as poetry. But when you get to Genesis, it's neither historical, it's not poetry. It's more like everything's more repetitive. It's written less of a historical text. It's written more as something that early humans would say as a chant. And so that's what I was taking away from this. It kind of seems as if we're kind of going into the more of a John Walton, not Genesis 1 as a historical thing, but more as a chant, more as kind of I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of not taking Genesis as literal and more as like a chant, and kind of, and not as Adam and Eve as a literal to the first people rather than like a group of people. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's what to me is really exciting about this frame that we're working through is like the threat. I mean, evolution pops on the scene with Darwin, the theory of natural selection, and a lot of Christians reacted against that, feeling like, well, that's a threat to the whole Christian project, and that's a understandable reaction. And I think the conservative, I mean, this generally falls into like conservative, progressive. I think the conservative intuition is like Genesis is talking about something real, and we don't want to just say that this is a metaphor and it didn't actually happen. And the last, let's say, like decade of my life, where I've held Genesis to be a metaphor and not real, and evolution is real. Adam and Eve has really lost its teeth. It was kind of like, oh, this is kind of a nice story. I don't really know what it means. It doesn't. It lost the weight it had for me that it had when I was a kid. This was really how the world began, and really why things are the way they are, and we have the suffering that we had. And now I'm finding myself in this third configuration where, yes, like what you're saying with this John Walton guy, I'm not interpreting Genesis as literal historical truth, but it's emerging as potentially one of the most, or maybe the most precise record of what this actual historical event and historical transition that we're going to get to actually felt like for humans at that time. And the way that the Old Testament plays out in the Jewish scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, is, and this is another open question to go down a rabbit hole, but it's an incredibly precise record of what it felt like to lose communion with God. And there's a whole world of discovery there that we'll get to in week 4 that I'm really excited about. So it's like bringing all of this new meaning to me for the Bible that actually like elevates the Bible rather than diminishes, its power. It's like really, really savvy. And we're not going to get into it here, but the neuroscience, which is another thing that I'm an armchair expert at, is the neuroscience, the studies that they've done around mindfulness and meditators and practitioners. What am I trying to say? There are some experiments that are coming out of my research that haven't been run but could be run. Like they've done fMRIs on meditators and have identified the self-structure to the default mode network, yada, yada, yada. But there are some interesting things about how all of the neurology, like we're just catching up with the neurology to what the Bible was saying thousands of years ago, and these other stories from all of these different cultures. And that connection is like super interesting to me, because neuroscience is, appealable to really anyone who's interested. It doesn't require belief. It's about as scientific as you can get, but yet it's now getting connected to these most ancient human stories about why things are the way they are. And that's really exciting.
I would also add that one thing that John Walton also talks about is the fact that he kind of goes into more of how humans or how what early humans were more concerned about, whereas now in the 21st century, when we talk about creation, we usually consider about how things were created, whereas the early humans were much more concerned about early humans were much more concerned about how things were giving their function. And actually going through that story of like the first humans that you did, it also kind of felt similar to John Walton's kind of focusing on the concept of how things got their functions, like with how a tribe deals with death for the first time, or how the chimps deal with like the food their elders give to them. So that's why I also kind of found interesting too, that it's also much more concerned about the function of things rather than how things were created. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the question of how things were created is the kind of question that the emissary would ask. It's the question that wants to get the God's eye view on what's going on and get a grip on it so it can control it. The chimp or the early human that is being a human, being a chimp, is not very concerned with these grand philosophical questions that are way above its pay grade.
I love what you were saying before, Tim, about essentially we're coming full circle. And, historically, these ancient ways of sharing and communicating information being really beyond their understanding, but and yet it was simple. Maybe it was simpler then, and now we're so advanced. We're hungry for certainty, and so we're wanting to prove everything, and we're proving that we had it figured out before when life was simple.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're basically getting to this in the series, but I did think of when you were presenting these stories, basically how storytelling and oral history essentially was how we made sense of the world, and we kept repeatedly sharing, and then maybe it kept refining as the story was being told, and then we're given this gift essentially of what looks like on the surface a very simple story with Adam and Eve, and yet it's quite complex and quite refined. It's been told over and over and over again for who knows how many years, with God's presence in the midst of that. And here we are still dissecting it, trying to understand it. But anyway.
Yeah, I like what you said there. I mean, the picture we're going through with these chimps and pre-language humans is one of intimacy. Like they don't have words, they don't need words. They're naked and unashamed, and the feelings that arise in my body, I'm comfortable with that showing up, presenting, leaking out, however it does, and the rest of the group absorbs that, however that happens, and everyone is known, and no one is hiding anything as a default way of being. I mean, there are examples where a chimp will pretend it has a limp to get sympathy, and we see some inner scenario planning, some basic inner scenario planning. So it's not that there's no deception or nothing we might say, oh, that looks a little sinful, but by and large, the group is one, and they are moving together without the need for all of these boundaries and language and communication. So yeah, we're kind of at this odd. I mean, yeah, we'll see how it unfolds, but we have both the capability to express so much. I mean, what we just expressed in the course of an hour is unfathomable to those pre-language humans. But yet it can be very hard for me to tell someone how I feel or to be honest with how they make me feel. So yeah, and I think that's where the image of the master and the emissary is really powerful. It's like the emissary is gifted and not bad, but when it takes control, there's this trade-off. It's like power is gained, but something is lost. And I think we're living in the middle of that. And the opportunity for rebalancing is what the spiritual life is about. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'll send out the recording, and yeah, feel free to email if anything comes up. Definitely trying to like my interest is putting this before the church, before the community, seeing what lands. That's my primary audience. I would love to get to the academics at some point, just out of curiosity and whatever. But yeah, my hope is that this resonates, and feel free to, give feedback or criticism or whatever. All of that will help to shape what it's becoming.